The secret trauma responses that no one talks about. I know you've heard about fight, flight, freeze, but wait, there's more. When you have complex post-traumatic stress, you get 2 bonus trauma responses for the price of 5. I know that sounds like a deal, but trust me, it's not. Okay, so complex post-traumatic stress is one of those gifts that just keeps on giving. You've probably heard of the 3 big trauma responses: fight, flight, and freeze. But there are 2 more that affect women with complex post-traumatic stress even more often, and they're kind of sneaky. So in this video, we're going to break down all 5, how they're showing up in your everyday life, and what you can do to stop them from running the whole show. All right, in case you don't know, I'm RC Gray. I'm a survivor turned CEO. And here at Survivor School, we help women break through the invisible barriers of trauma so they can finally reach their full potential. And before we dive in, let me let you in on a little secret. One of these trauma responses is actually socially rewarded. You might even be getting praised for it, but that doesn't make it healthy. So stick around and I'm going to show you why. Number 1 is our fight response. Everyone knows about this one. This is our inner warrior, where everything feels like a battle. You're quick to anger, quick to defend, and underneath it all, you're just trying to feel safe by staying in control. Sometimes it works, but most of the time, you just end up exhausted, wondering why life feels like World War III. The second one is flight, and this might be showing up in some non-obvious ways. Hello, overachievers and perfectionists. The flight response doesn't always mean running away. Sometimes it means running towards endless tasks, responsibilities, and distractions. It's the hustle, the overscheduling, and the doing more to feel less. If slowing down makes you anxious, if rest feels like failure, this isn't just ambition. It might be avoidance. Okay, number 3 is freeze. Again, you probably already have heard about this one. This one often gets mislabeled as laziness, but it's anything but. Freeze is your brain hitting the pause button because any action feels dangerous. You might zone out, you go numb, or you feel stuck. Not because you don't care, but because your nervous system is trying to protect you from making it worse. You're not broken. You're just trying to survive. All right, we're going to move on to the secret 2 trauma responses. And these 2 are a little less well known. So secret trauma response number 1 is fawn. Fawning is people-pleasing turned survival strategy. You say yes when you mean no to avoid conflict, and you become what others need so you can stay safe. But here's what's really happening. Your nervous system has learned that peace means pleasing, and that your safety depends on it. This can be a little bit trickier to catch. You might feel anxious before you say yes, but guilty if you say no. The problem here is you're often going to lose yourself and you're going to disappear inside your relationships. So here's what you can do instead. When the urge to appease hits, I want you to pause. I want you to check in with yourself before you check in with anyone else. Because if it costs you your authenticity, it's not peace. It's a trauma response. All right, the second secret trauma response that affects mostly women is actually tend and befriend. This one is the one that is most rewarded and the most overlooked. This looks like caretaking or leadership and community building. Now, in a crisis, many women turn to nurturing others and creating connections because that feels like safety. But here's the trap. If you are pouring into others to avoid your own feelings or clinging to unsafe people to avoid being alone, you're not bonding, you're bracing. So for those of us who are highly empathetic with trauma, we do what I call go give it, where we have needs that are deeply unmet and we go and give that to others. We go give those needs to others in hopes that it will be reciprocated. The problem is when we choose the wrong people around us to give to, we are actually only making the trauma worse. So here's how to catch this one in action. Maybe you feel responsible for everyone else's pain, or you stay in toxic situations because you're afraid of losing connection. Or maybe when you have needs that are going unmet, you go and meet those needs in others. If you recognize yourself doing any of these things, I want you to ask yourself, am I doing this out of fear or out of choice? If the answer is fear, this is a sign that your nervous system needs a new way to feel safe. And that's exactly what we teach at Survivor School. Now, if you're thinking, wait, I do all of these things, sometimes at the same time, you're not crazy. You're adaptive. These trauma responses are all patterns in the brain, but they're not permanent personality traits. And the more awareness you have, the more power you have to interrupt them. So at Survivor School, we teach you how to work with your nervous system so you can finally feel safe enough to choose something different. I want you to know healing isn't about picking the right response. It's about recognizing when you're in one and giving yourself permission to step out of it. I want you to know you're not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are someone who had to adapt to survive. And now it's time to learn how to live. Remember, trauma responses are wired in for survival, but you weren't meant to live your whole life in survival mode. So, if you want to learn the fastest way to heal your trauma by hacking your brain, I'm going to leave a link in the description. Your nervous system will thank you, and so will future you.